Coming up on 8:45 now, it's a key race that could decide which party controls Congress for the next 2 years.
Our Fox 12 Investigates team looked into the pivotal race of Oregon's 5th congressional district this election cycle, and investigative reporter Adrian Thomas brings us the story.
It's a local race with national implications. Republican Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer is vying to keep her seat in the U.S. House of Representatives against Democratic challenger Janelle Bynum. Both campaigns have raised over $5 million each in this election cycle, according to federal campaign finance data. That's because whoever wins this race could play a crucial role in deciding which party controls the U.S. House in 2025. Oregon's 5th congressional district spans from the Portland metro area across the Cascades and out to Bend and Redmond. In the race for this seat, latest polling shows Democrat Janelle Bynum and Republican Lori Chavez-DeRemer neck and neck heading into Election Day. We sat down with both candidates to get a better idea on where they stand on the key issues. Janelle Bynum currently serves as state representative for District 39, which includes Happy Valley and North Clackamas. Her candidacy for Congress has gained national attention, with Democratic House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries appearing at a recent campaign event. Bynum feels her experience representing her politically mixed community would serve her well if elected to Congress.
One of the things that I do is I just meet voters where they are. It means challenging the status quo, pushing forward with really practical solutions, being a bipartisan legislator, working across the aisle. So whether it was on the CHIPS Act, which was about $300 million in investment for Oregon, which generated $43 billion in economic investments for the state, or whether it was 23 public safety bills, or whether it was leading on reproductive health bills.
On the Republican side, incumbent Lori Chavez-DeRemer is fresh off her freshman term in Congress, defeating Democrat Jamie McLeod Skinner in the 2022 midterms. Other significant political experience includes serving 2 terms as mayor of Happy Valley from 2010 to 2018 and on city council prior to that. Chavez-DeRemer and Bynum also have an election history with one another, with Bynum defeating Chavez-DeRemer twice in close races for state representative in 2016 and 2018. But Chavez-DeRemer seems poised for success this election. What's your strategy this time around?
The same as it was last time. Really focused on the local issues. I say this all the time. As a former mayor, it's important to talk about what people care about most. And what I know from my 20 years on the ground and my experience being that mayor, people care about public safety, people care about good education, affordability, can they buy their first homes, and what's just their everyday life look like?
A top issue on voters' minds this election cycle is the economy. We asked both candidates how they would address rising costs in the next Congress.
So when it comes to the economy, I think it's important to make sure we pass the farm bill, stop tinkering around and dinking around with that, and pass it so that kids are eating. That also takes pressure off of families. It's important that we continue with negotiating prescription drug prices. That's important. And it's also important that we continue growing our economy with good family wage jobs.
Bynum's campaign website also says she'll fight for housing affordability and remove red tape for housing construction while in Congress. For Chavez-DeRemer, she points to her work in Congress pushing for policies to make the U.S. more energy independent. She also prioritizes housing affordability and everyday costs for families as major economic issues.
We have a shortage of housing here in Oregon. People are concerned with can they even pay their rent? So some of the things that I have been working on and I'll continue to work on is expanding the child tax credit. That's important for young families. Also the tax credit for if they have dependent children, just to pay for the basics of rent, food, housing. Working with HUD, and again for landlords when we're talking about rent, what does that look like for an expanded voucher program?
Chavez-DeRemer and Bynum have taken aim at one another's records throughout the campaign, with Chavez-DeRemer calling out Bynum for her time in the Oregon legislature, and Bynum claiming Chavez-DeRemer is aligned too closely with former President Donald Trump. A lot of their attack ads are targeting your time as a state lawmaker, particularly over issues like drugs, crime, and homelessness. What do you say to voters in the district who are really worried and frustrated about those issues that I just mentioned?
Well, I'm a mom, first and foremost, and I have 4 kids, and I worry every day when they leave the house. And so I share all of the concerns that other moms and dads have in our state about safety. And the other thing is, you know, just from a political standpoint, like, it's silly.
Bynum says Chavez-DeRemer is too closely aligned with President Trump on abortion access. What's your response to your opponent's campaign and some of her supporters tying your record to that of Donald Trump's? Specifically on abortion, many attack ads are saying you support a nationwide abortion ban.
Well, I've been very clear over and over again that I will not support a national ban, and even the former president has said the exact same thing. This is not the route that we're going. This is a states' rights issues now, post-Dobbs. The Supreme Court ruled that it's to be handled by the states, and in Oregon, they have spoken up, and they've spoken up for years on this issue, that they want access to abortion. They want some sort of access. We codified that here in Oregon state law in 2017. I'm not going to do anything to change that.
In contrast, Bynum says Congress must pass a law to codify the protections of Roe versus Wade nationwide.
This is where my opponent and I disagree. I 100% support Roe being the law of the land across the country. Full stop.
And later in the week, you can see more of our interviews with both Bynum and Chavez-DeRemer to hear more on their specific plans to tackle the key issues in this campaign cycle, like foreign policy, the economy, and immigration. That'll all be on kptv.com. In studio, Adrian Thomas, Fox 12 Oregon.